Hello and welcome in this video. My name is Laura and I'm a somatic coach, and I love to share those little videos to invite you to more wholeness. That's really now the key word of my work, a return to wholeness through the body, through what we feel, through our life path. Everything that happens is always an invitation to wholeness. And today I want to share an aspect of that exactly, like something you can put into practice, that return to wholeness, especially if you're someone who, just like me, suffer from some kind of limiting belief surrounding the idea that you are lacking something. It could be like a lack of skills. It could be a lack of self-confidence. You could think that you're not worthy enough, that you're not good enough. And all of that, all of those things that you lack, however you would phrase it, revolves usually around one term that could be, I cannot. I can't do this. I'm not able to do this. I can't. I don't have the capacity. Or the way we would also phrase that is, I'm not able to. I will never be able to. I will never make it. It's not who I am. I can't success. I can't be abundant. I can't be worthy. I can't be good enough. I'm never good enough. Does that resonate? Is this video for you or not? If it's for you, I would like to invite you to consider some reframing. Okay, how to deal with those beliefs that there's something that we are inherently lacking and that will prevent us from getting what our heart desire. And I believe that if you're listening to this video and if you're following my work, I'm pretty sure what your heart desire is so beautiful and you're so worthy of it. So I would really love to offer this reflection that I have for you, because I would love you to get what you want. Yeah. And as I said, I share exactly the same belief. Like, there are things, some aspect of life, I feel like I'll never make it. Other people will make it, but me, I will never be able to make it because I don't have what it takes to make it. Yeah. So it's something that I've contemplated more and more with a deeper, more mystical approach. And I hope it will resonate with you. In that approach, we're going to consider something we can refer to as the divine. Maybe you have some faith already and you're welcome to call it God. Maybe you don't resonate with the religions at all and you're welcome to call it as you wish. Maybe you want to call it the source. Maybe you want to call it divine. Maybe you want to call it the cosmos, or the spirit. I don't know. However you want to call it, that thing that is just bigger and greater than everything, and from which we all come. Yeah, the same source. The reflection that I want to share has been inspired by a book I'm reading at the moment, and I have to go and watch what's the exact title because oops, I don't remember it. The Healing Path of Prayer. It's called The Healing Path of Prayer. It's a beautiful book. I really recommend you to read it if you're into that theme of prayer, and it's a mystical approach as well. And in that book, at some point, it does speak a lot of the Christian tradition, but again, it's not tied to it. There's a lot of invitation to just relate to it any way you want or prefer to. Okay. But in that book, at some point, it speaks of the ancient Aramaic, I'm not sure how you say that word in English, text. So how the gospel was written in a very ancient language. Yeah, it's not the translations we have nowadays. It's something different. maybe more original, maybe. And in that text, in that ancient version of the gospel, there's a passage where Jesus speaks of the essence of God. Speaking of the essence of God or the cosmos as being the power of I can. Yeah. The I can of the cosmos, the creative fire of the soul's force, the soul's source. Okay. So, what we're invited to consider is that thing we originate from, that we all come from, that all life comes from, the cosmos, God, the divine, that shine upon us, its essence is constituted of I can. The force of the cosmos is a I can force. It's a creative force. And definitely I think we can all agree that in creation there's the power of I can, we are doing. We are just, by creating, we are proving that we can. Yeah? I'm looking at the book and I'm considering what else should I share from that book. Maybe I'll just share a little bit more. So just an extract, okay? Jesus is saying that people have lost the awareness that they are made in the image of the eternal I can. Jesus is saying that people have lost the awareness that they are made in the image of the eternal I can. If they are aware that they are made in the image of God and carry the primordial energy of the Spirit, nothing is impossible for that God presence within them. Yeah. If they are aware that they are made in the image of God and carry the primordial energy of the Spirit, nothing is impossible for that God presence in them. So take that in for a moment and see if it resonates in some part of you, in some part of your intuition, in some part of your belief. Yeah, whether you have a faith or not, yeah, whether you are Christian or not, where does those words, that sharing, that text, resonate within you? How does it move you? Which part of your body feels a pull toward that sharing and feels a resonance of like, yes, that's right. Yeah. So what I realized when I read that actually is that we are trying so hard. We're trying so hard to prove that we can. I think we do want to prove ourselves and prove the world that, okay, I have a deep belief that I cannot. And it hurts me, it pains me to believe that actually. When we think about it, it's painful to bear and to keep carrying that belief that I cannot. I'll always be lacking in skills, in abilities, in confidence, in worth, in value. It's heavy to bear. Can we just recognize that? Can we get real for a moment? It's super heavy. Yeah. And yet we keep on carrying it. So it seems that it's so deeply rooted in us. And it's, if we look at where it's rooted, it's most probably rooted through interpersonal relationships. It's rooted in our experience with other people. And well, as usual, often it goes as early as our early childhood memories or not memories. Sometimes we don't even remember specifically, but it's there as implicit memory. And it's how we've been treated by our caregivers, our any significant relationship at school, with friends, just how we've been met by people around us again and again, and often that feeling of lack comes from not having been validated or not having been received in a certain way regularly as we were growing up. And so it creates a sort of expectation of us always be lacking or always having to prove. Yeah. So it's just interesting to see where the wound is located. It's in relationship we have with people, and we have to look at what is in relationship also. It's our persona. Yeah, it's our ego. And when I say ego, I never attach any judgment around the ego. Honestly, I'm just all about love, so let's love the ego as well, seriously. I don't think there's much wrong with the ego, actually. I was also contemplating that exactly with the same passage of that book. It's that the ego is something very much concerned with the material things and with safety, or with our sense of safety. And in a way, it's our root chakra. It's the energy of the root chakra. It's absolutely about being safe, being looked after, or having a roof over your head. It's looked with, it has to do with feeling safe. And that's what the ego also cares about, I believe, actually. It's safety. And so it's the root chakra. Would you tell yourself, your energetic body, to get rid of your root chakra because it's a little bit too deep into material consideration and not elevated enough for you? No. It all makes sense. It's all connected together. So I think we definitely should focus on something else than just blaming the ego here. But let's just look that the ego itself, if it believes it's alone, then it's bearing way too much on its shoulder. Yeah. Just like the root chakra is connected to other energy centers. Okay, and it's supposed to be in a flow of energy with much more. Yeah. It's not the whole of the energy body. So let's see, what can we put in relationship? Like, use the ego. How can we relate, or what can we make the I don't know how to phrase that sentence in English. How can we support more conversation and relationships around the ego? And that's where I'm going more with the text that I read, or that idea that the cosmos, the essence of the cosmos, is I can, is a creative fire, because then it reminds us of our own soul. Yeah. Just to come back to what I read, if we were aware that we are made in the image of God and that we carry that primal energy of the Spirit, yeah, nothing is impossible for that God presence within us. Yeah, so we're not just ego. You know that. We're not just ego, we're not just body, we're not just thoughts, we're spirit as well. And that, for me, is a keystone here in taking care of our wounds. Let's not let the wound alone carrying itself, which I believe we are doing when we are expecting, or even blaming the ego for wounds or for being so attached to some things. It's because we let the ego carry its own wound by itself, and we're not being there for the ego to carry it with him, with her. Yeah. So creating more conversation and more relationship here, what I meant is bring in the remembrance of our wholeness, of that God presence within us, remembering the Holy Spirit. Yeah, if that term resonates with you, or maybe you just want to call it Spirit, because then Holy Spirit would be a little bit too Christian for you, and that's fair if it doesn't resonate with you to name it like that. So again, make this language yours. Yeah. So what I've been focusing on, and I'm sharing because I think it's going to resonate with a few people who watch those videos. I don't know. Since I'm making those videos in English, I have no idea who watches them. Yeah. So let me know in the comments, yeah, so I can start to get to know a little bit more the people I'm speaking to. Even though I'm sure I know most of you though, but I'm just not sure who of the people I know watch those. Okay, anyway. So the practice I've been in touch more is to convey those other dimensions that are actually could be called soul. Yeah, soul. And for me, it's a new practice, really. It's only a few months old, only a few months old practice because I've been rather versed in Buddhist teachings. It's been years now, and there's not all of those concepts, soul and spirits. But I'm saying that now it gives me access to so much more to actually start diving into those concepts and engage with those practices. And it ties a lot with the energy healing that I do and I'm taught in Reiki to connect with that idea of the light of the soul or the light of the spirit, of the Holy Spirit. Yeah, and then through the Holy Spirit we can remember our God presence and remember that we are whole already. And all the things we believe we lack, maybe we're just not looking at the right place. Maybe we keep trying to do things by ourselves again and again, but in a way that where we operate in isolation from our environment and with a mindset of me against the world, me versus others, me as a lone individual having to prove myself to this world, yeah, or to my family, or to my friends, or to my colleagues, or stuff like that. Yeah, so there's a lot of competition there, and a lot of separation, a lot of segregation, a lot of division, and it just has to be a reminder there's more. There's more we can approach our life from, because if we could just pinpoint where am I going to get the energy of I can, if I don't find it in me, if I only meet my wound when I go toward that idea somewhere there's a capacity to do no, and I cannot find it anywhere within me because I only meet my wound, because I keep bumping into that belief that no, I never make it anyway, it means we should start looking somewhere else. And the place I'm inviting you to look is that spirit dimension, your soul. Yeah, that is God presence within you. Yeah. And how do we inquire that presence within? How do we get to know the light of our soul? Oh, for that, it's another video that I have to make. But it would be based on a book that I truly recommend, or several books, but it's the same author. His name is John O'Donoghue. I'm not sure how to pronounce an Irish name. Sorry, guys. I will write it somewhere in the description of the video. It's called, there's one of his books that is called Anam, Cara. It's a beautiful book on Celtic wisdom. Wonderful. That will talk about the soul and how to approach the soul. There's also another beautiful book, I'm sure I've mentioned it already, by Mark Nepo, 7,000 Ways to Listen. I mentioned that book because it speaks about listening. And John O'Donoghue speaks of the same attitude toward the soul, saying that the soul is a very shy dimension of us, that we will never look at the soul in clear light. If we try to put a spotlight on the soul, it's going to shy away. Yeah, so it's another attuning to the light of our soul. It's a very refined, subtle, gentle, very yin approach of the soul, of listening, of sensing, tuning into by just a gentle release, surrender, trusting, and opening, a listening, an inner listening. And I feel that's what we are called to do. Yeah, if we want to walk on that path of returning to wholeness and use what we would see as obstacle, that limiting belief of I lack something, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not capable enough. Let's change the narrative. It's not an obstacle, it's the way, right? It's the path showing us how to reconnect with the light of our soul or with the spirit, with the God presence in us, by stop engaging with life with such anxiety and step back, relax. And relax, it's always easier to say, so forget that I say relaxed. But step back, disengage a moment, find your ground. Yeah, remember that root chakra, more ego concern, it's about safety. So come back on your grounds, what make you feel grounded. And with that anchor of the grounding, of the ground, finding some ground to feel safe in, and start listening. Start listening, start sensing the light of your soul and connecting with that force that is bigger than you. Yeah. If you're into some energy healing, it's a beautiful moment to give yourself some loving energy, to give yourself some Reiki, if Reiki is your practice. And if it's not, you're not trained in that, you actually don't need to be trained. I would also recommend getting this book, The Healing Path of Prayer, because then it can be a moment for you to be in prayer. And I believe we can all pray. We don't have to be Christian or Muslim or whatever to pray, but praying is that communion with that thing that is bigger than us, right? With that all-encompassing energy, with the cosmos energy, just praying like you're a radio and you're trying to tune into the frequency of the cosmos or the God presence. Yeah, it's really that attitude of inner quietness and inner reverence for that presence that is so bigger than you and that contains that I can and that contains that creative fire of your soul. Yeah. I think I'm done with my sharing. I hope I could convey clearly enough what I wanted to share. Yeah, it's that remedy or that alchemy we can start to create, the alchemic process we can start to create on the basis of the limiting belief or the language that we have in ourselves from our womb, the I cannot, I'm not able to, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough. And the alchemy, my hypothesis is that the alchemy will happen through the light of your soul by reconnecting with it. And not asking yourself to prove yourself, but reconnecting with what's bigger. Yeah, the light of your soul, your spirit, Holy Spirit, God presence, and there find the resources for your growth. Yeah, okay, I think I think that's enough. Maybe I'll just suggest one thing. Just reiterate the invitation to be in prayer, whatever it means for you. You don't have to have your hands like this, although it's pretty significant. They can be on your heart, or you can just be lying down on your bed before going to sleep. If you suffer from insomnia or difficulty to fall asleep, which I usually have, difficulty to fall asleep, then one of my exercises is to connect to the light or to the Holy Spirit and imagine the energy of the Spirit coming through my head, crown chakra, and filling me with light energy. And I imagine as being a gentle tide, a gentle wave. And it worked, guys. In a few waves, I'm asleep. So it's pretty amazing, yeah. I'm asking the Holy Spirit to carry me to sleep or to rock me to sleep. It does work. So make those practices your own. Use visualization, use intention, inner reverence, mindfulness. And another thing that really helps for me as well is poetry. Yeah. And I always found that David White's poem are just amazing. David White's poetry is really infused with that connection, with that conversation with something bigger. So I would really recommend his poems. But I'm going to read another poem just to inspire you a little bit by Rashani Réa that is called The Unbroken. You can find the poem on her website, rashani.com. Okay, The Unbroken. There is a brokenness, out of which comes the unbroken, a shatteredness, out of which blooms the unshatterable. There is a sorrow beyond all grief which leads to joy, and a fragility out of whose depth emerges strength. There is a brokenness out of which comes the unbroken, a shatteredness out of which blooms the unshatterable. There is a sorrow beyond all grief which leads to joy, and a fragility out of whose depth emerges strength. There is a hollow space, too vast for words, through which we pass with each loss, out of whose darkness we are sanctioned into being. There is a cry deeper than all sound, whose serrated edges cut the heart as we break open to the place inside. There is a cry deeper than all sound, whose serrated edges cut the heart as we break open to the place inside which is unbreakable and whole. The place inside which is unbreakable and whole, while learning to sing. So soothing for me, this poem. Such a softening after reading it. Just the first sentence, just the first line, there is a brokenness out of which comes the unbroken. Yeah. So let's remember we can be both. We can contain both. Yeah. Brokenness and unbroken. There's something in us that is unbreakable, unshatterable, and a joy that is bigger than all sorrow. Yeah, a strength behind the fragility. And I think that that is a knowing that comes from remembering the light of our soul. Yeah. So that's my journey. Maybe it's yours too. Maybe you want to make it yours as well following this video. Anyway, I would love to know how you receive this sharing, if it resonates, and what you feel invited to do now. All right. For more of this work, you can have a look at my website. I put together a new website. I'm very proud of myself. And the link is in the description somewhere under this video, or on Facebook or on Instagram. Have a look and let me know if it resonates. Take care and see you soon.